Hi, I'm Adam Meyer of Mill City Lutherie in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and we've got another broken peghead video. Not trying to repeat the same thing over and over. What's going to be different about this one, we've got an early 90s Les Paul. The owner of this loves this guitar. He does not want to see the damage when it's done. I'm going to go extra steps on this. We're going to put in some reinforcement strips on this peghead repair. It's not that the peghead is broken that severely. It's just that we're kind of over repairing. Make sure that it's definitely not going to happen again. Plus, I'm going to go the extra steps on this of sanding all the way back to the wood. Usually, other videos where I've done this, I just kind of put the reinforcement strips in, sand in a little bit, spray on top. The idea is this is a lacquered guitar. Most guitars are with a urethane or another type of modern finish that doesn't shrink over time. Well, Gibson's still using a lacquer. You can feel along the binding where that seam is. It shrinks over time. You can kind of tell that the finish isn't perfectly glass smooth. There's all these little ripples from the wood underneath. That's what happens with lacquer over time. So when I put in those reinforcement strips, have this crack repaired, if I just simply sprayed lacquer over it, it's going to look good now. But in a few years, the lacquer's going to want to shrink into all those little seams. So the idea is I'm going to sand it all the way back to the wood, fresh sealer, and if needed any pore filler or anything, get it all perfectly smooth before any lacquer or color goes on to this. The idea is that it will be much closer to a 100% result for longer than if we just kind of put strips in, sprayed some black over, and called it a day. It's one of those things where, the repair bill starts adding up. A lot of people are like, you know what, just spray a little color on it and that's fine. There may be dings, scrapes all over the guitar. But on this one, the owner of this guitar really loves this guitar. He just doesn't want to see any of that for as long as possible. So that's the reason why we're going to go, we'll say, a deluxe peghead repair. That's what makes this one a little different. We're going that extra mile to get that as much of a 100% result as possible. So we need to get started on this, and we'll get a closer look at this break next. Alright, jumping right ahead to having all the hardware off and everything. The guitar came in close to that. The tuners were still on and everything. But if you have a peghead break, definitely get the strings off or have them slackened really well. If need be, wrap something soft around the peghead to keep it from flopping around. This one doesn't wiggle all that much, so it wasn't that big of a deal to be in the case without it wrapped up. Do not tape it back together. You just want to have it held in place securely and get it to a repair shop. Don't leave it flopping around. Don't try to tune it up or anything. People online leave comments about, well, I can still get it in tune. Well, no, don't do that. So, all right, so it's not the most common way that these break. Usually you have kind of like just that one parabola. I think people would sometimes call it the Gibson smile. But we have this coming all the way across here. There's a couple really small little cracks in there that I likely won't be able to reliably get wood glue into. But we're going to be doing this with the reinforcement pieces put in, and I'll plan out where this part here, that's where a strip goes, that's where a strip goes. That way I don't have to worry about if this doesn't get glued up very reliably. I'm cutting that section out, putting in maple, and it's going to be rock solid. One little issue here that's a little concerning is this chip here, which I don't want to break it off, but it appears as if I lift, I can lift it up a little bit with an X-Acto knife, so I should be able to get glue underneath that. So that'll be a little extra step compared to the regular peghead repair. And now that chip came off. Yeah, see, this whole little section here is loose. So I gotta make sure I get glue underneath that. Now when inspecting these, another thing is to check inside the truss rod channel. This one, it did break into there. Got it loose all the way up in there. So I have removed the truss rod nut. I'm going to put some wax on this to make sure that the threads don't get glue built up on them. With the wood glue, it's not that big of a deal. You can usually break it off, but still, you don't want to get a lot of glue in there and you end up having the truss rod glued into place. But yeah, all along here, it's broke all the way up to there. So it's broken right behind where the truss rod is. So when I'm clamping this together, I'm going to need to take it all apart, double check in here that I don't have glue running all over everything, make sure I wipe it out clean and then clamp it up again. Got to do that real quick. It's one of those things, if you're watching this, trying to get do-it-yourselfer ideas, you got to practice clamping it up without glue first, just to get a feel for the amount of time it takes to clamp it all together so that you know what kind of the amount of time you have to work with things. Let's examine this from the side. Wiggle it open a little bit here. That's good because then I can get glue down way down in there without having to rely on thinning it out. It's okay to use a little bit of thinned out glue just to get it way down in here, but you really want to be using the full strength through most of this. But as you can see with the thin feeler gauge, I can get way down in there. So this will be pretty good. Check the other side. See, it's all the way up to here. If I can get this set up safely. And the feeler gauge goes way down in there. It's all good. Getting in there plenty deep. To make sure I didn't break anything, still will clamp together nice and secure. So I'll do a couple, get my clamps and clamping calls out and practice this. I'm going to start off just water. Get the wood wet in there. Want to take on the glue more easily. I'm not flooding it, just a few drips here and there. This is some thinned out wood glue. You really want to make sure that it's getting way down in there, that you're getting the crack completely saturated with glue. Definitely getting glue all the way down in there. Let's see, it's way down in there, plenty of it squeezing out. Just got it coming out in the truss rod pocket there. So we gotta make sure we clean that up as well. And here's that one center piece. I'll make sure definitely getting that glued up good. Alright, full strength glue now. I've got a couple little spots out here that haven't gotten any yet, but I'm gonna put it through all of this. Try and get as much as I can in there. Spread it around the best you can. Yeah, it's really well packed. Situation like this, you always want to try and get more than what you think is needed in there. You definitely want to clean up afterwards, even though I'm going to be taking the finish off around the crack. You still want to be able to tell that you've got the glue all the way in there. Getting really close to when I should have this clamped up. I'm going to flood this quick, wipe it down, and the clamp's got to get on it right away. Alright, clamps are just on lightly right now, so, and you can see there's already a bunch of squeeze out coming out, which is a good sign. But it also means that I gotta be quick, get this all apart, make sure that nothing's getting all over the truss rod, and get it all clamped up together one last time. Alright, it's sat overnight. Got everything together really well. A little bit of white glue squeeze out, but hot water will take that off. But we are also going to be routing some strips into this, so it doesn't exactly matter on this guitar. Take a look here. Taking a look here at the truss rod pocket. Yeah, that's nice and clean. No leakage, nothing got onto the truss rod, so we're good there. This is my method of doing this. If somebody does it a different way, I don't care. You can do it whatever way you want. I do this because sometimes these breaks are up in the peg head, sometimes they're down in the neck. I can attach this wherever I need. It's just some acrylic sheet, plexiglass with some, you can see those slots routed into it. I had this made at a laser cutter. I have this little kind of router type bit that I put on my Dremel with the base here. It kind of burns through these. I only get maybe 2 uses out of them before I have to throw them out, but they're cheap enough to have made. The idea is there's no bearing on this bit like you normally would have with a tracing routing bit. I adjust it so that the smooth shaft will ride on the plexiglass, but the deal is if you go along there too many times, it heats up and this will distort. So you kind of need to cut the route nice and clean, bore out most of the wood, then go back with one last pass going along the edge of the template. Otherwise, if you're just sitting there pushing along the edge of that, you can end up melting the acrylic and you end up with a wobbly slot in the neck. Based on where I want to do the routing, I want to be up more into the peg head because the crack is here, it's not down here, so we want to get up going across there. Moldable plastic, hot water. I've already got some strips of double-sided tape on the guitar, so this it's warm, it's not hot. We're just gonna put some on here. That's gonna be too much. There you go. Now I always put I put the double-sided tape on first rather than trying to shape this and then get the tape and everything put back where you want it. It's just much easier like this. It's pretty simple. Just push everything into place, get it where you've got this lined up nice and square. Now I'm just going to let this cool, and these will harden up. Once they're nice and hard, I can remove the template, put down some double-sided tape on the flat areas, which will then hold the template into place nice and secure. Alright, I got that routed nice and clean. Make sure that we don't have any little lips or anything in there for the splints to catch on. I've gone ahead, you got some maple. Make sure it's nice tight grain. We're not using any cheap wood here. And the idea is you want them to fit just right. Not be tight, no, not loose, no gap around them. You should not be able to wiggle these around once they're put into place. And also you shouldn't have to force them in either. That's got a nice solid fit to both of these. Pretty simple. Just going to use some wood glue, clamp them down, let it sit overnight, then we'll start shaping. Now I'm sanding back to the wood this time. Other times I just get things level and spray over the top, but we're going past that. I'm not going to strip the entire neck, but we'll have a decent amount of this and move ahead from there. Got to tape everything off. Eventually the body's going to get wrapped in some newspaper, newsprint, whatever. Got to make sure to take care of the front of this. We're not spraying anything on the front. I don't want black getting on the front here, so I'm going to cover the peg head, or the tuner holes. I'm going to fully cover the peg head. I didn't want to put tape on any of the logos or have too much on the mother of pearl or anything, because even though this is a low tack tape, you don't want to have tape on here for a while, pull it off, and it pulls finish off. I'll be adding, probably just pack in some paper towel or something into the tuner holes so we don't build up a bunch of finish in there and then have to deal with that. But yeah, two-stage taping on the fingerboard, because Gibson will spray black on the very bottom of the binding. So like on this side, as you can see, I've covered up the binding, followed that line, but down here there's just a little bit exposed to keep that nice straight line. Be spraying black, pull off this first strip of tape, and then it's still masked underneath that, so I can then spray some clear on everything. For this job, since we're all the way to the wood, I'm going to need to seal the wood. I have a little bit of vinyl sealer left in this rattle can, otherwise I can still mix some. I have a big jar here if I need to do a large area. I'm going to be using these Preval sprayers. At the moment of this job, it is very cold outside, so I'm just going to set something up in the basement, kind of air out through the basement window. It's a small job, not going to be a lot of fumes. Make sure to set up a fan, get everything blown out. But I'll be using this Preval sprayer. Also have some aged gloss. I'm going to try it out this time on this guitar. Be adding some black pigment to it to spray the colored, then just this without anything added to it, and until hopefully I start to get the color to match the binding and whatnot on the guitar. Otherwise, I do have just regular gloss clear. This lacquer guitar, so we'll be using lacquer. Hopefully everything blends together really nice. The idea is after spray up some coats on the damaged area, the last coat or two, I'm going to spray basically the whole neck, trying to avoid the upper peg head where we have serial number and everything. Just try and fade it a little bit, get things to blend together. It's not a crucial thing to the owner, but it's still trying to do a good job. We don't want to have like a real visible separation between new and old finish. Lacquer tends to chemically burn together, so this should go pretty well. There's some nitrocellulose. I have a little bit of thinner in it already. Black is something I'm touching up on quite a regular basis, so I'm just going to make this whole amount black. I'm going to add some pigment until it's right. So I don't have to spray many coats of it to get it to be black. I'm going to peel the tape off very carefully. Just use some painter's tape on this. I have plenty of it. There's also tape a little more specific to this application. I'm just going to scrape right along where I can tell where the black line is supposed to end. There we go. Coming off real easy. I don't have finish built up over this tape, but still got to make sure and be careful pulling it off. I always like to pull away from the lip of the finish, not pull this way, pull that way. On the treble side, pull in. You do have the tape come apart at times, but that's not a big deal. And careful. You always use some of this low tack blue painter's tape. Note how I plugged the holes so we didn't have any black come through and get on the front side of the peg head here. Right along here is just a little bit of buildup. There we go. Now I'm going to be sanding this up to real fine grit. I'm starting out with some sandpaper that's specific for sanding finishes, a little tiny bit of dish soap in the water I'm using. You wouldn't be doing that mid coats or between coats, just at the end. On here I want to try and get this as flat as possible. I'll be using something, probably just my fingers, to sand the rest of the neck. And right now I'm going to try and do this without using a buffing wheel. I'll show you in the next step the thing I'll be using. Hopefully I can get this, you know, the guitar isn't super shiny, it's a used guitar, but I can try and get things to blend together. Buffing wheel is going to make this really shiny and the neck is going to stand out, but the body's going to be kind of dull and old looking. So I'm trying to match things a little bit here. Everything's smoothed out, and what I'm doing now, and I'm kind of hoping this works out better than me having to go to the buffing wheel. There are these kind of fabric sandpapers. I guess it's not technically a sandpaper anymore if it's fabric, but you can see this side is kind of the fabric side and the abrasive is here. This is a 6000 grit, and it's, you know, kind of like polishing the surface. It's so fine. I've got a few stages beyond that. You know, I've got, well, here's some of the 6000. Start at 4000. Just keep going up. And the idea is, you know, the rest of the body isn't super shiny. I'm just trying to keep things to be all consistent looking. Also, if I can avoid a buffing wheel, I don't want to catch edges of the peg head or anything. Yeah, I'd prefer to do that. Just kind of keep things simple, and yeah, it's working out. This isn't going to be like put the camera on it and it looks brand new. That's not the idea. I'm trying to get it to look like the rest of the guitar. Last step, well, I got the sun shining on, but last step, chamois with some Ultimate Compound. Just about to the end of this project, and I'm going to be making a new nut for this. The original got knocked out. It's got a big chip in it. Very important detail about making a nut, whether you're making one from scratch, if you buy a pre-made one or whatever, is that on a slot like this, especially on a guitar where the neck is broke before, you really want this to fit properly. Fit is neither loose nor tight. It should just slide in. It's like you can feel it on the edges when it goes in, but it doesn't get hung up anywhere. See that? I can still kind of slide it around, but it sticks a little bit, but it's, you know. And also make sure the bottom of the slot is flat. Nut needs to sit down nice and flat on there. This peg head with the head plate wants to flex forward, so you don't want to be pressing it in super hard. If this was maybe an Epiphone or a different guitar that didn't have the head plate, well, then that's a different situation. You then want to make sure that your bottom and fingerboard side are nice and square and that you have full contact. Full contact makes it nice and strong. There you go. Deluxe, shall we say, a deluxe peg head repair with the reinforcement splints and finish touch-up. Did what I could just to, you know, we're not trying to create a relic, not trying to create anything perfect looking, but just to, you know, the idea was the owner of the guitar didn't want to look at a repair every time he picked his guitar up. He's owned this since it was new, really loves this guitar, and I've got a pretty good match between the neck and the body. It's not super glossy. I didn't actually put any effort into scuffing this up. What I did was I just didn't go full out high shine on a buffing wheel. Just use some of those fabric sanding cloths and just take it up most of the way to being buffed out. Even just kind of having it on my neck rest here, getting since it's fresh, it's kind of getting a little scuffed up a little bit, and everything's just blending together. Also, yeah, I mean, you need your serial number. I never understand why people just fill that in and just spray over, because then it's obvious that the neck has been repaired. Plus, you need your serial number. If this were to get stolen or something, you need a way to identify that it's yours. So, you know, if you have a sharp eye, you know, if this went into some high-end vintage guitar shop, they're gonna notice, okay, the finish, there's some overspray that ends here. But the average guitar player is just gonna think it looks like worn finish like the rest of the neck. So yeah, keep your serial number. I don't understand that. So if you have any questions or comments about this repair, you can always leave it in the comment section below the video, or you can contact me directly. It's in the About section of my channel. You'll find that information, and we'll see you next time.